Sixth graders, you are joining us for the final week of youth group, and it's also our final week of the series, Rock Bottom. We go through series, and we've talked about, ways that we sometimes react and respond to situations that we're going through. Sometimes it's hard when you hit situations in your life that are hard, whether it's with friends, with school, with family. And when life isn't good, the first week that we talked about this, it was talking about depression. If you're familiar with the prophet Elijah actually went through depression even after seeing how God was doing great things in his life. And things were going great, but then he hit this rock bottom and he went through depression. And then second week, we talked about Moses, how sometimes when we're facing things in life that are really hard, we act like Moses. We run away from the things that we're trying to hide from, and we're trying to bury them, but when we don't bury them, we run. When we don't do a very good job at burying them, we leave because we just can't deal with the situation. But God called Moses back to go to where he was at. And sometimes, we struggle with trusting God, because let's be honest, if things are hard, that means that we're in this point where we're like, well, I just don't know that God can deal with what I'm going through. I think it might be a little bit too much for him. And when those situations that we're going through are hard, we react different ways because we all have different stories. I could guarantee you that every single person in this room has not experienced the same emotions, the same things, the same feelings. You may have similarities in them, but you may not have reacted the same way. Even for my wife and I, who live under the same roof with our 4 kids, I'm telling you, even at that, we have different ways that we respond to situations. We have different things that go on. Why? Because I come to work and she has a different day than mine, And as much as we have differences, we can still look at the Bible because the Bible tells us about the way that we could deal with things, right? If you don't have a Bible, I encourage you, ask us for one. We want to get you one. But the Bible teaches us how to deal with those things that we may not know how to deal with, whether it's in school, whether it's at home, whether it's with friends. And when we're going through those hard things, we start to wonder, can God really help me through this? Can God really help me get through this? And we start to ask, how can God, and fill in the blank. You could fill in the blank however you want. How can God help me with this? And when you're in that bottom, it doesn't only feel like God can't help you. It feels like walls are going up, right? Have you ever been in your by yourself, when nobody's there with you, and all of a sudden it's like you just have these walls that are going up where you just are either pushing people off, or if not, they're pushing you off. Have you ever experienced those kind of walls? Those walls that go up. And unfortunately, when we're going through those things, it's that wall that is keeping us from maybe seeing the greener side. Like that whole saying, the grass is always greener on the other side. There's this wall, and we look, and we're like, well, if I could only get there, if I could only be where God is calling me to be. And it's hard because when we're in those situations, once again, we either get depressed, or if not, we just go and hide. And it's a dangerous thing, guys, because I know that even you guys may be familiar that people sometimes take their lives because they just don't know how to deal with the things that are suffocating them. And if you need somebody to talk to, let me just start off. Talk to one of us. We are here to listen. We're not here to give you all the answers. We might not know them, but we're here to do life with you. But the second thing is, I encourage you to look at the Bible, because as we look at the Bible, last week we talked about Moses, how he was running away, but God calls him to go back, right? So he goes back to Egypt. If you're not familiar with the story of Moses, I encourage you to look through Exodus chapter 1 through 4, those chapters. But he calls him to go back because he's going to take the people out of the bad things that they're going through in Egypt, and he's going to take them to a good land, a promised land. So he tells Moses to go back and take them out, and there's going to be these cool signs and wonders that are going to be shown. So there's going to be like water turning into blood. It's going to get dark. There's all these plagues that are going to happen. And God does these incredible things, and he takes the people out of Egypt. And Moses is the one that is leading them out of there. And as you think about that, it's like, wow, that's crazy, right? I mean, God shows up, and the people that are enslaved, they're slaves in Egypt. God takes them out and starts to take them to a promised land, to a good land. And that's what we want, putting it into perspective of life. We want for God to take us from the bad things that we're dealing with and just take us to a better place. Are you relating with this? With life, where life is not good and you just want God to take you and put you somewhere else because you just hate the life that you either have at home, at school, with friends, once again? It's hard, and we just want God to move us. Well, that's what God does with the people of Israel. He moves them. He takes them out of the land of Egypt, the land of slavery, and takes them over in a journey to the promised land. And we might think, well, that's great. That's what I want. That's what I want for my life. But here's the issue. The issue is that you have to understand that when you begin on that journey that they begin in, sometimes you think that it's easy because you left the big thing behind. That thing that you just hated dealing with. However, that journey for the Israelites was hard. And that's really what the story lays in, as a foundation. The people leave, but they're going to have to fight because the land that God is giving them, there's people living there. They're going to have to fight. So they begin on this journey, and they get to a place where they're going to go and fight now, but they're going to send out scouts, people, to go and look to see what's going on, to see if the land is what God says it is, and to go and see how they can conquer it, how they can go and fight. They send scouts, and when they send scouts, here's what happens. They send these scouts to go and look to see if the land is everything that there is, or everything that God said it is. However, they have to depend on God's ability to actually take this journey. God is going to use them to go and defeat the people, but God is going to win the war. And if you, as you came in, if you noticed there was a paper on your seat, and I encourage you to write down some of these things that we're going to be talking about. But as we're going in this journey that is taking us to the promised land, you have to understand that when you're going through things that God is going to take you out of and take you into, you need to be involved in the process, but trust God with the outcome. Does that make sense? In other words, God is going to take you on this journey, and God is going to be the one that's going to be leading you and taking you to where you need to go. But so many times we just want God to just deal with it. Okay, so here it is, and I don't even want to be part of this. Or if not, we want to be in control of it. And sometimes that's where we land. We want to be in complete control. We want to be the ones that are going to go through those things and do all the good things that so we could take the credit. A few months back, I'll put it this way. A few months back, I was getting ready. I love doing design stuff. I love creating things. And a guy from our church, his name is Terry, a friend of mine, he came up to me and said, hey, you know what? I would love to help you with the design that you come up with. I would love to be a part of it. And would that be okay? And I told him, yeah, absolutely. That'd be great. So he said, well, just give me a call next time that you're going to be getting ready for that. So I gave Terry a call and I said, hey, Terry, I'm actually going to be getting ready for this design. Would you be willing to come and help? And he said, yeah, absolutely. So Terry shows up to the church and we start talking about the design. And I'm like, okay, so this is what it's going to look like, And he's like, okay, what do I need to do? That's really the process of it. So I told him, I need you to cut this. I need you to mark this. I need you to do this and do that. And he starts doing everything that I'm asking him to do. And then we get done and we see the design and it's like, man, that turned out cool. I high-fived him. I'm like, dude, that was great. And he goes, to be honest, I felt like I did nothing. I didn't feel like I did anything. And at times, that's the way that we feel when God is in control. We feel like, okay, but I didn't do anything. And I'm telling you, without Terry in the picture, I wouldn't have been able to do that project as quickly as I did. But while Terry was there, he was asking, what is it that you need me to do so that we could get the big picture done? And he started gluing, he started cutting, he started marking, he started doing all these things. And at the end of it, he's like, I didn't feel like I did anything. Don't worry about the big picture. I've got the big picture. You just need to be part of the process. And that's the way that it works with God. You know what? We need to understand that God wants us to be in that process as he's transforming us, as he's using us. You know what? You might be like, God, I just don't know how my friends are going to come to know you. You need to be part of that process. God is going to use you to reach your friends. God is going to use you. If you're going through a situation where you're like, I just don't know how it's going to change, maybe you're the change. Maybe you're the person that God is going to use to change the situation. But you have to be involved in the process. And sometimes you might feel like, I didn't do anything. That's great. It's God that's going to do the things that need to get done. You need to trust God with the outcome, but be involved in the process. So the Israelites go into this battle and they have to fight, and God is going to use them. But then they get to this point where now they have to depend on God's ability. So imagine this. Picture this in your mind. So the Israelites are enslaved. That means that they're being told to build bricks and all these things, and it's forced labor. They're not getting treated like a regular person. They're getting treated like a slave. And God delivers them out of there, and they're going to this promised land. Everything's been going good. God has been doing great things, and he's moving them. And then they hit this place where now they send the scouts, and this is what it says. They get to the place where now the scouts are going to be going and checking out this land. And then after they get done, it says this, Numbers 13:25. After exploring the land for 40 days, the men returned, the scouts that had gone out. And they said to Moses, Aaron, and the whole community of Israel in Kadesh in the wilderness of Paran. They reported to the whole community what they had seen and showed them the fruit they had taken from the land. This was their report to Moses. We entered the land you sent us to explore, and it is indeed a bountiful country, a land flowing with milk and honey. Here is the kind of fruit that it produces. But the people living there are powerful, and their towns are large and fortified. We even saw giants there, the descendants of Anak. So the scouts go, and they're like, yeah, everything that we saw is exactly as God said. I mean, there's big fruit, and there's this land that is great for farming and doing all these things. But here's the issue. The cities are protected. The cities are fortified. And there's no way that we're going to beat the people that are there because they're so much bigger than us. Can you imagine getting that report? That's what you get. It's like, it would terrify you. All of a sudden, it's like, okay, so God took us out of that situation. He brings us in this journey. And now in this journey, I come to find out that we hit a wall, literally. And now I'm scared. Because how are we going to beat these people? And when they said this, after a while, this is what they came up with as their solution. We can't go up against them. They are stronger than we are. Do you hear the fear? Do you hear that situation where you're like, I just don't know how we're going to keep on moving. I just don't know how we're going to be able to beat those people that are there. Even though God is telling us that he's moving us in that direction, I just don't know how we're going to be able to go to where God is calling us to go. And guys, this paints a picture of how we see life at times. When we're going through those depression, when we're trying to run away, when we're trying to not be scared, all these fears start to come into us, and we're like, I just don't know that I can do another day. I just don't know that my situation is going to be able to be resolved. I just don't know that I'll be able to keep on moving forward, even though God is calling me to go that way. And guys, we start to have this fear where we say, look, I know that God can do great things. I know that God is calling me, but I'm telling you, God is not going to be able to take care of this one. We diminish God and we elevate our problem. We're saying, my problem is way too big for God to handle. And I know that we have all sorts of age groups here tonight, but I know that we also have all sorts of problems. It doesn't matter if you're 12, it doesn't matter if you're 18, or anywhere in between. Each one of us has something going on in our life where it's weighing us down. And it feels like the world is just crumbling. And we're filled with fear if we're honest, because we just don't know. At the age of 33, I'm telling you, it's still very real in my life, where I'm like, I just don't know. I just don't know that God is going to be able to move me past this. It just seems like a wall that's too big for God to take care of. Guys, if you're thinking, once I get older, I'm going to have more confidence, I'm telling you, you will, because you'll experience God more and more. But when those things come that are hard in your life, it's still going to be hard because you're going to see all the negatives, but you have to be reminded that God is bigger than your problems. So they're scared, and they end up not trusting God. So God sends them to the wilderness, to the desert, to go and roam for 40 years because they did not trust what God had in store for them. So they go out to the wilderness, and to be honest, that's how we find ourselves sometimes. We feel lost, we feel filled with anxiety, depressed, running away, because once again, we just don't believe that God can handle what's ahead. And it's foolish. I know that it's wrong, but I'm telling you, even now, there's days that I struggle with this because it's like, I just don't know, God. I just don't know what lies ahead. But we have to give control to God. And then after the 40 years have happened, where they were in the wilderness, when they were in the desert, they finally get to the point where now they're going to continue to move forward to the promised land. However, something significant changes. Something big changes. Joshua chapter 1, verse 1 says, after the death of Moses, the Lord's servant, the Lord spoke to Joshua, son of Nun, Moses' assistant. So Moses died. Remember the guy that led them out of Egypt? Now he died in the desert, and now it's Joshua that's going to take them to the promised land. And the Lord said this, Moses, my servant, is dead. Therefore, the time has come for you to lead these people, the Israelites, across the Jordan River into the land I am giving them. So it's time to keep on moving ahead. And now there's Joshua who's going to take them forward to this place where God is calling them to. But you realize that the issue hasn't gone away, right? The issue is still there. The people that were massive, the people that were instilling fear, the people that they were afraid of are still there. Guys, put this picture into your mind. This is exactly what it looks like when we're trying to run away, when we're depressed. We are saying, God cannot handle this, so we are scared. We're paralyzed with fear. We're anxious, not knowing what's going to happen. And God says, okay, you know what? You have to trust me. Keep on moving. And you still have to deal with the issue. And the issue is not what lies ahead, it's trust. It's trusting God that he's able to take care of what lies ahead. So they keep on moving, and they have to trust God with this mess that they're going to be going in through, because it's going to be messy. It's a fight. It's a battle. And as they go there, they're reminded that this is still a battle that's going to have to be won through God. Guys, if you have issues, understand that the only way that you are able to deal with them is with God on your side. And you might think, well, no, I have a better way to do it. That's fine. But I'm telling you, you're going to fail. Because sometimes when we're trying to deal with stuff in our own strength, it's really hard. But the Lord tells Joshua that it's time to move forward, and he tells him this. And this, if you don't listen to anything else tonight, please listen to this, okay? Joshua chapter 1, verse 6. This is the Lord saying, be strong and courageous, for you are the one who will lead these people to possess all the land I swore to their ancestors I would give them. Did you catch that? Be strong and courageous. Why? Because when we're reminded what we have to face, fear paralyzes us, and we have no strength left in us to keep on moving forward. Be strong and courageous. And then verse 7 says it one more time. Be strong and very courageous. Be careful to obey all the instructions Moses gave you. Do not deviate from them, turning either to the right or to the left. Then you will be successful in everything that you do. Study this book of instruction. Meditate on it day and night, and you will be sure to obey everything that is written in it. Only then will you prosper and succeed in all you do. Do you catch that? Be strong and very courageous. Now it's just not a little bit of courage, it's very courageous. Why? Because fear is going to overtake you, and you need to ask God for more courage to keep on moving forward. Why? Because ending it all is not going to be the solution when problems are coming into our life. There is nothing that's going to end the problems. If anything, when you leave it behind, somebody else deals with it. So you have to trust God and gain more courage to continue to move forward. And it's telling him, you know what? Look at the book of instruction. Look at the Bible, and it's to study it. That means read it. Meditate on it. That means to just think about everything that you're supposed to do and obey it. Don't just study it. Don't just meditate on it. Obey what it says. Why? Because it's a path that is going to lead you to where God is calling you to be. You have to understand that this book holds the answers to your issues. It's not easy. I'm not telling you that it's easy, but it holds the answers to your issues because we're able to trust God with the outcome. And then, only then, will you understand that things will go well for you, because now you're trusting God through the process. And just in case you forgot, let's go to verse 9, where he says one more time, this is my command. Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or discouraged, For the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. Now it's a command. The command to be strong and courageous. When the issues seem so much harder to deal with than what we can take, don't lose strength. Let God fill you with strength. Let God give you the courage to keep on moving forward. And guys, as we're here tonight, I know that at times, maybe when we go to church, we want to be reassured that if we give our life to Christ, if we're Christians, everything's going to go great afterwards. And that's a lie that the church preaches. And I know that I've shared this with our teenagers that are here. So sixth graders, this might be hopefully not a new concept or a new idea for you. But the Bible never says that when we become Christians, things will be easier. As a matter of fact, Jesus says this in John 16:33. In this world, you will have trouble, but take heart, for I have overcome the world. What that's saying is, you know what? Understand that in this life, the things that you're going to go through, they're going to be hard. You're going to have issues. You're going to have troubles. But you have to understand, take heart because I overcame it all. Jesus saying, I overcame it. You can too because I am with you. The Bible continually tells us to take heart, to take courage, and to gain strength in Christ. It tells us to be strong when things get hard, to take courage when we're scared, and to trust God with the outcome. And to know that he is with us every step of the way. Because we can overcome every situation because he has overcome himself. Be strong when things get hard. Take courage when fear creeps in. And know that God is with you. And that's hard, right? It's a hard concept because when fear paralyzes us, it's hard. I just shared this afternoon with our leaders, but last night I had a dream, and it was the weirdest dream ever. I had a dream that there was a frisbee flying towards my face, and it hit me right in the eye. And I just remember in the dream, I kind of just put my hand up, trying to shield it. But for the most part, when you see that something is coming towards you, it's not that sometimes you react quickly. If anything, you turn away because you're scared of what's about to happen. Fear has this way of paralyzing us when things are coming our way. But you need to be filled with courage, not fear. When you feel alone, know that God is with you. Well, one of the viruses that I hate getting, one of the sicknesses that I hate getting is the stomach flu. Anybody with me on that one? Yeah, stomach flu. I hate the stomach flu. I would rather die than get the stomach flu, to be honest. I hate the stomach flu so much. I hate throwing up, and I hate the other symptom that comes with that too. I just don't care for it. And at times when I've gotten the stomach flu, everything hurts. My body aches, my throat hurts, from everything that's happening. And it's really hard, because I'm scared to death of the stomach flu. To the point where I just don't move. I mean, you could ask my wife. I will lay on the bed and I won't move one way. I'll just stay still, looking straight up at the ceiling because I am scared that if there's any motion, I'm going to puke. And I'm scared. I really am. I'm really scared of the stomach flu. And when I get the stomach flu, it's crazy because everybody disappears. It's like cockroaches. You turn on the lights and everything leaves. And that's the way that the stomach flu is. Nobody wants to be around me when I have the stomach flu. And I don't even want to be around myself either, but I can't get away from that. But one of the things that has become obvious, so if you don't know, my wife is Gina, and she's sitting there, but when we got married, there was a vow, a promise that we made to each other. And she holds up her end a lot better than I do, probably. I'm sorry. But it's a promise of to stand by each other in sickness and in health. That sickness piece is something that is crucial because every time that I've been sick, she stands by me. And it's like the weirdest and coolest thing at the same time. Because even though she can't heal me, because there's really no solution for the virus, there's nothing that's going to take the stomach flu away. But she stays by me, and she brings me water so I stay hydrated. She brings me things so I don't have to move. She holds my hand because I'm scared of throwing up. And when she's that kind of wife. But anyways, as ridiculous as that analogy is, this is exactly what it looks like in regards to the process that we're going through where God is leading us. That means that there's going to be days where you're just going to have to deal with the pain that's going to come, but God is going to be with you. God is going to give you the strength to continue to move forward. God is never going to leave you. God is never going to forsake you. God is going to walk you through that process. But you have to deal with it, and you have to fight. You have to fight to keep moving forward. And once again, so the Israelites, and this is where we're wrapping it up. The Israelites are told that they're going to go and fight. They're going back to this place called Jericho. And Jericho has a wall. They're literally going to hit a wall because it's covered. It's protected. So they go and they get to this place where now they're going to have to go to Jericho. Once again, what do they have to do in order to win this battle? What do they have to do? Starts with a T. They have to trust. Okay, perfect. They have to trust God because they're not going to win this battle by themselves because the people are too big. The city is protected. There's no way that they can go in and take the city. So then this is the plan. Okay, listen up. This is the plan. The plan is that they're going to go and God says, this is what you have to do. You are going to march around the city wall for 6 days. You're not going to talk. You're just going to blow the horns. That's all you're going to do. You're just going to go around for 6 days. On the 7th day, you're going to go 7 times around the city, and then you're going to shout because you are going to overtake that city. Guys, if it was me, I'd be like, but what if we shout and it doesn't come down? You know, what if I shout and I'm excited that God's going to lead us through this and it doesn't work? That's just my humanity speaking. What if? What if? But it says this, they obeyed. And Joshua 6:15 says, on the 7th day, the Israelites got up at dawn and marched around the town as they had done before. But this time, they went around the town 7 times. The 7th time around, as the priests sounded the long blast on their horns, Joshua commanded the people, shout, for the Lord has given you the town. When the people heard the sound of the ram's horns, they shouted as loud as they could. Suddenly, the walls of Jericho collapsed, and the Israelites charged straight into the town and captured it. Guys, you understand that there is this war that is happening, and God is saying, you know what, you're going to go through this life, and it's going to be hard, but you have to keep moving forward. Gain strength, get courage, keep moving forward. I am with you. I'm going to be the one to deliver you. And as they're going, they panic the first time. They end up wandering. They come back, and this time they trust what God is telling them to do. They come into this wall, they move forward, and the wall comes down. Those walls that are setting up in our life, where maybe the issues that are going on are getting stronger and the wall seems bigger, it seems harder to scale. The hardest thing that we struggle with, but the easiest task to do, is that we have to be willing to step back so that God can step in. That is the hardest thing that we have to do. You understand what that is? It's losing control. That means that we're losing control of the situation, but we're trusting God with the outcome. And that's what we have to do. I was just sharing this with Ivan and Jonathan just a little bit ago, but I'm not going to go into the full details. But growing up, I remember a few times where I saw my dad in a different light. You know, it was pretty cool actually. But my dad's a strong dude. You know, He's intense. And my dad, one time I remember my mom had the situation with one of the neighbor guys. And there was issues that had happened. And my mom was talked in a way that my dad didn't appreciate. She was disrespected. So my dad finds out what happened. And my dad steps into the situation. And it was intense, you know. You just know when my dad stepped in because the situation changed dramatically. All of a sudden, I was like, wow, that's my dad. He's stepping in, you know. He's actually stepping in for my mom. And honestly, growing up, I knew that my dad would do the same thing. And now I have 4 kids. And I'm telling you, with each one of my kids that I have, if they are ever in a situation where they are wronged for doing the right thing, I am going to step in. I don't care what it costs me. I am going to step in and stand with them whatever it costs me. Why? Because I love them, because they're my kids, because they belong to me. And this is a picture that we get when we get to this point where we step back and Papa God steps in. Where Father God steps in and says, this is my battle to fight. This is not yours. You need to move to the side because I'm going to be the one to take this battle. But you have to be obedient in where I'm calling you to be. And this is a picture that we have to understand. When we're going through hard things, you're not going to be able to deal with everything that life throws your way. Why? Because this life, it's good, but it has bad times. It's just a reality of it. And it's hard because we want every single moment to be good. But during the bad moments, we have to trust God with the outcome and know that he's got it under control. Just like I would step in for my daughter, for my sons, for my daughters or my sons. I would step in for both. But, when you really think about it, we have to allow God to step in when situations are hard. And sometimes our lives look so dark. Whatever situation you're going through. And we have to be reminded of what King David says. Even when I walk through the darkest valley, I will not be afraid. For you are close beside me. Your rod and your staff protect and comfort me. There is this comfort that comes from knowing that our Father in heaven, God, is right there next to us, walking alongside of us saying, hey, son, daughter, step aside, but follow me. We're going to go that way, but I've got your back. Actually, you're right behind me, so I've got you. God is leading us, but we have to be willing to step back. This week, actually, for the last couple of weeks, it's been just this whirlwind of emotions for my family and I. And, we've had, mountaintops, and then we've had, valleys, where it's just hard. And I think everybody goes through that, in life. But there was one verse that, for me, I just took comfort in. And I want to share it with you for whatever you're going through. Because you have to be reminded that when you're in that situation where life is hard, you begin to worry. You begin to panic, wondering, where is God in all this? If he loves me so much and he's right here, why is life falling apart? Why do I feel like the ocean is just collapsing in me? Guys, this is why I encourage you to write down. Don't worry about anything. Instead, pray about everything. Tell God what you need and thank him for all he has done. Do you catch that? Tell him what you need, but thank him for all he has done. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Everything. Thank him for everything that has gone on in your life. And then you will experience God's peace, which exceeds anything we can understand. His peace will guard your hearts and minds as you live in Christ Jesus. When we surrender that control and we say, God, it's under your control. I can't deal with this anymore. There is this peace that comes and overtakes us. And we understand God's got this under control. And we can experience that peace. If there's still walls in your life that haven't fallen yet, you have to remember that God is faithful, even when things are still bad. And we're going to close off with this song tonight. And it's a song that I received from someone this week. And it was a great reminder because I needed to hear this. I really did. And I want to sing it tonight because the lyrics are really good. But the song says, walking around these walls, I thought by now they'd fall. But you have never failed me yet. See, you're looking at this wall and you're saying, I thought that by now it would be gone. But you have to be reminded that God is faithful. He hasn't failed us. He will not fail us. Trusting and having confidence in God's ability when you have no ability of your own.